Hello. Our midweek text is the Old Testament reading for last Sunday, 1 Samuel chapter 3 verses 1 to 10. The Lord calls Samuel. The boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. In those days the word of the Lord was rare. There were not many visions. One night Eli, whose eyes were becoming so weak that he could barely see, was lying down in his usual place. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the house of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called Samuel. Samuel answered, "Here I am." And he ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." But Eli said, "I didn't call, go back and lie down." So he went and lay down. Again the Lord called, "Samuel." And Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." "My son," Eli said, "I did not call. Go back and lie down." Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord. The word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. A third time the Lord called, "Samuel." And Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." Then Eli realized that the Lord was calling the boy. So Eli told Samuel, "Go and lie down, and if he calls you, say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. The Lord came and stood there, calling as at the other times, "Samuel, Samuel." Then Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." If you were paying close attention, you'll remember that the gospel for last Sunday was the calling of the first disciples, Jesus telling Philip, "Follow me," and astounding Nathanael by his foresight and perception, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God." So we have two themes going on, a calling and a discernment. It's a bit dangerous to declare so close to Christmas what your favourite present was. Anyone could be listening in. Yet I have no hesitation in declaring that, over and above the lovely fleece from Secret Santa and the chunky cigar from my eldest, my top prezi was a little book scooped up in haste from the Daisy Chain bookshop in St John's by Alison. Here it is. A field guide to the English clergy. The writer, Reverend Fergus Butler Galley, whets the appetite with his subtitle, "A Compendium of Diverse Eccentrics, Pirates, Prelates and Adventurers, all Anglican, some practising." I mentioned the book to David Morphy during a recent phone conversation, and his imagined grin, David is very smiley, even on the phone, got even bigger as he recognised the book and recalled the delights of its contents. And no doubt every ordained person in the land has received this little book at some time, gifted to them by teasing and tickled family or friends. But the plain fact is that it should be required reading for every member of the Church of England. For whilst it may raise a wry smile amongst the clergy themselves, it serves as a timely reminder to their flocks that the Lord has called a great many very strange people to his service. Very, very, very strange people indeed. Written as a series of potted biographies, the book clusters its subjects into groups according to their most obvious oddities. Thus we're treated to tales of eccentrics, nutty professors, bon viveurs, prodigal sons and rogues. Butler Galley freely admits that all the subjects are dead and all male, due, he notes, to the Church of England's regrettable tardiness in ordaining women to the priesthood. He explains that the reason they don't feature that is not that there is a shortage of eccentric, successful or nutty women, rather that being alive and women of great ingenuity as well as great godliness, many have access to excellent lawyers and some particularly those in rural ministry, to unlicensed firearms. Surely not our Calantha. You can guess from the humorous tone of the writing that this is an affectionate and wry look at clergy down the years. But don't assume that the subjects all belong to bygone ages, Jane Austen's time or earlier, when the country parson was expected to be a hunting, shooting, brandy smuggling butterfly collector. A good many of the characters, all real and all really ministers of the church, lived and served in the 20th and even well into the 21st century. One eccentric, the Reverend Ian Henry Gaunt Graham Allbar, only departed this life in 2016 at the age of 90. It's been my delight to discover a proper read-aloud book crammed with belly-laugh oddity and jaw-dropping amazement. Here are clergy who dress up as mermaids, who travel everywhere by horse in the 21st century, bishops who absent-mindedly ride off with so many bicycles they get the nickname Burglar Bill, men who fill their vicarage gardens with steam trains and tractor engines, or spend 30 years single-handedly constructing the largest folly in the country. One egomaniac was of such pretensions that he was accused by the Archbishop, no less, of declaring himself a bishop and his church a cathedral, only for the vicar to reply, "Let me answer your Grace's question with another. If it were true, would you be such a fool as to take any notice?" Enough. I could go on quoting gleefully, but instead I will simply urge you to get or borrow a copy and read it for yourselves. So why am I banging on about this topic? Well, perhaps because in our parishes I think it may invoke some memories of our own recent past and help us place in context the challenges that we faced. Certainly we never reached the heights of Gunwallow in Cornwall, where in 1919 the parishioners resorted to dumping dead animals at the door of the vicarage and eventually, after some subterfuge, bundled their vicar into a car and dumped him in a neighbouring village. But first and foremost, I think the book helps me reflect on the nature of calling and the difficulty of discernment. For at some point, each and every person described in the field guide was called to holy orders. Just as the child Samuel, gifted by his grateful mother to service in the temple at Shiloh, was confused by the voice he heard calling, just as Eli, the ageing priest whose own children would bring shame and dishonour on his family name, recognised the source and encouraged a response, so our all-encompassing Anglican communion still struggles and strives to know who is called and to what purpose. The subjects of this, my current favourite read, are all, to a man, flawed and feeble, weak in the flesh, or in the mind, or in the spirit. But there's only a handful that are irredeemably bad. In fact, most, the author happily notes, left legacies and memories of enduring happiness and tangible benefit to either a small congregation, a community, or, in some cases, the wider world. So if there's a whisper in your ear this new year and you don't know where it's from, perhaps have a chat with someone, because believe me, there will be room for you, man or woman, in Volume 2.